Hi guys, hope everything is fine with all of you. This time around I'm bringing you the TANSIO MIRAI X, also known as the TSMR 10th anniversary. This is the latest IEM from TANSIO MIRAI. This particular unit, obviously I got it from PENON, as they are, as far as I know, the main distributors for TANSIO MIRAI products. And its price is $399. I believe this is kind of an early bird price, and price will afterwards rise slightly, but anyway, that's the price I got it for, $399. Let's just go through the unboxing. Very simple case. I mean, TANSIO MIRAI never really does anything too overboard. The sleeve, you remove it. The box itself, again, very understated, very nice, classy look. Nothing in the back, at least that I can understand, all in basically Chinese. Got some mentions of what is composing the IEM, but nothing really too special. And then you open up the box, and well, the IEMs came obviously over there. Underneath here we have a compartment which has the switching tool here for the switches of the X, because it allows to be adjusted. You have here a tool to clean it, and a tool for the actual what can I call this? They call it the retarding driver. Okay. Anyway, we'll get to that in a second. So that's that there, and then the actual case. The case is really the only thing that I honestly have a little bit of a small issue with, because although it's very nice and small and pocketable and everything, very nice, and the quality of it is actually quite good. I mean, this is tiny. I struggle to put the stock cable and the actual IEM inside here in a way which I at least consider safe, without it being kind of too cramped. And coupled to the fact that the case does have some play, I don't know how well protected it will actually be. But anyway, this is a small remark, nothing special. In terms of tips, it brings these tips, which are the usual for the products from TANSIO MIRAI, from PENON, from ISN, which I love these tips. They work beautifully, and I use them extensively along with my KBR 07s, the BGVP wide bores, and now lately the Divinos velvets. I've also been using those tips quite a bit. Anyway, so that's the case. Small, like I said, nicely built or nicely made, but a little bit tiny for my liking. Something a little bit more substantial would have been nicer. Let's just get this out of the way. As for the X itself, the stock cable is a pretty decent cable. Actually, you can buy it separately from PENON. The only thing I had to do, and this is a problem that this cable has already in other models from TANSIO MIRAI, is that the ear hook that it brings is too tough. It has a tendency of pulling out the earphone from your ear. So what I did is I just removed it, and that's it. No issues. Obviously, then you have to pay attention with how you connect the actual plug, so that you don't invert the polarity, but that's it. As for the IEM itself, it's beautiful blue turquoise resin shell, 3D printed. You can see inside quite well. You can see this driver here that you see here. This is that this is the dynamic driver. Sorry, this here on this side here is that what they call a retarding driver, which is basically a driver to, not a driver, it's a how am I going to call this? It basically controls the pressure inside of the shell. And by controlling the pressure, so that we avoid driver flakes and unwanted resonances created by that pressure inside of the shell, we get a cleaner bass reproduction. That's basically what it is. So we have that driver there, or that let's say that technology there. Okay, we have the actual dual 8mm coaxial driver on here, and then we got 4 BAs. 2 of them are nulls for the mids, and 2 are sonions for the highs. So in effect, this is you could say this is a 2 plus 4 plus 1. So 2 dynamic drivers coaxially mounted, although effectively it's just as if you had just one 8mm driver. 4 BAs and one of these let's call it driver for the sake of just being easy. The shell is, like I said, very nicely built, fits beautifully. I would have personally liked just a slightly longer nozzle, Okay, just a slightly longer nozzle would have been nice, and perhaps a metal termination as well would have been nice, or to give it that extra length, because I did find that when I pushed the X deeper into my ear, I did how can I say this? I did clean up is not maybe the correct word, but I did improve the upper mids and treble ever so slightly. At least to my ears, that's the perception I got. Okay. So what I would recommend is try and use the smallest possible tips that you can, that will guarantee a seal, and it will allow you to, kind of basically shove the IM as deep as possible into your ears. That's my rec with regards to the X. So nice deep insertion, and you will definitely see or hear rather a small little improvement in terms of it just comes across ever so more balanced, with when the IM doesn't go as deep. If I'm using maybe like for example the BGVP, while the wide boards and so on, what I did notice was that area there of 6, 7, 8K came across just a little bit more energetic with relation to the rest. And it's not that it shouted or was aggressive or harsh or anything of the sort, but it just kind of made it lose its balance that I was enjoying when the insertion is slightly deeper. And that's basically it. So fit is nice, it's a well built IEM. Look, $399, I think. Obviously it's a lot of money. It's not exactly pocket money, but when you consider what you have and what's being offered, I guess it's within reason. I mean, you have the Hype 4 from Theo Audio, which I was hoping to have received to do this review, but unfortunately it didn't arrive on time. That's a 2 plus 4 also at the same price. So I guess it's been priced accordingly with what is in the market. The Blessing 3 is a little bit cheaper, $329 than this, but okay, I believe, at least for the configuration that it's here and for what's being offered, that it's being fairly priced. All right, so that's the X there. What did I bring out? Not so much as a comparison, and I've been trying to do that now lately with my reviews. I don't, the level or the quality of a lot of the IEMs has become so high, and that it's a little bit sometimes difficult for me to say, oh, this one is now the bomb and this one is the garbage. No. So I've been trying, or I've been attempting to do more of a positioning of what I am testing with regards to other similar products in its price range. And that's exactly what I tried to do here. So I'm trying to rather give you guys a kind of a feel of what the X is about, rather than saying that the X is better than any one of these other 3 IEMs here. What did I select? I could have selected others, and again, if you guys want me to compare with something else, I will definitely do it. Although, like I said, and I've always said, I always try and compare apples with apples. I don't like comparing hybrids with single EDs. I don't like doing that thing. But hey, whatever rocks your boat. If you guys want me to do something like it, I'll do it. So I've got here the ISN EST50, which I think is an absolutely fantastic tribrid. It just doesn't get enough attention. Beautifully done, beautifully built. I mean, this thing is an absolute beast. At $449, again, it's an IM that I think is very well priced. It's one Knowles BA for the mids, one Sonian BA for the highs, 2 Sonian ESTs, one 10mm driver. Beautiful shell, kind of like the semi custom fit. Amazing sound, PENON sound, that nice sweet bass. It is truly a fantastic IM. So I got this. I got the PENON 10th anniversary, which kind of 10 to 6mm drivers for the bass, the 2 BAs for the mids and for the highs, a Knowles and a Sonian, 2 ESTs. So it kind of has a similar type of configuration to the X. And I thought that this also made, you know, sense to compare, although it is $499, so it is $100 more expensive than the X, although sometimes there is discount codes and you can get it a little bit cheaper. And then finally here the manga top, which is the most expensive of the ones I've selected at $530, and that's a 1+8, so probably the more modest, let's say, in terms of it's just 2 driver types. So that's 3 drivers. This is 2 driver types plus another technology there, let's put it that way, and that's just 2 driver types, a dynamic driver and the BAs. This doesn't have switches, this doesn't have switches, this doesn't have switches. The only one that has the switches is obviously the X, and that does convey it, or does allow it to have a little bit more versatility in terms of what sound and what tuning you can get. The other interesting aspect here is that in terms of the way that they are overall tuned, the X and the manga are the ones that are the most similar, and when I show you the graphs you'll understand, and the EST and the PENON are also the ones that are the most similar in the way they are tuned. However, when you do listen to them, any one of these 4 IM sounds absolutely perfect. Okay, obviously there are noticeable differences. The one that's the, let's say, the warmest sounding one is actually the Mangit. The Mangit doesn't have the sparkle that you find in the 10th anniversary from PENON, or on the EST50, or even on the TANSIO MIRAI, the X. And I mean, it's not that it's, but you do notice there's just a little extra less amount of twinklies and sparklies, you know, in the upper regions, in the top. But it does have a fuller bass. It does have a thicker sounding bass, although it's a very high quality bass. But again, that will be to the satisfaction of some, will take away from those looking for the ultimate in terms of audiophile reproduction, being perfect, and so on and so forth. The 10th anniversary from PENON, I think we all recall more or less the sound. Very nicely executed bass, considering it's 2 6mm drivers in a compound side-by-side loading, so you actually are getting 2 6mm diaphragms, which when you couple their area, they are more or less equivalent to a single 8, let's put it that way. Just over a single 8mm in terms of its overall area, just slightly below a 9mm. Very nicely executed mids, great extension. I mean, when I reviewed it, I said that it was a very, very well executed EST. Very well executed EST. It's got a very open sound. It's actually the one that's got the highest sensitivity, so it's the one that will play the loudest out of all of these 4, with the relatively easy. It will be the one that plays the loudest. I think the 10th anniversary from PENON is an absolute beast of an IM. Honestly, I really do. I really think it's a fantastic IM. The EST50, like I said earlier, it's got that typical PENON ISN sound. Great bass. I mean, it seems like it's effortless. You know, it just continues and carries on, and fantastic bass. Great mids, again, very similar. The mids, actually, when you listen to the EST50 and you listen to the PENON, the 10th anniversary, they sound very equal, very, very equal. The difference here between the two of them is that this needs a little bit more power. This is a little bit more power hungry, and obviously, of course, it's got more bass quantity, not necessarily bass quality. But either one of these 2 IMs are absolutely fantastic, and they sound surprisingly similar. The TANSIO MIRAI, the X, has got vibes of the top in terms of its bass, and I've used it in the configuration, which is 010, which is kind of like, this is the stock configuration, and this just keeps the bass at the, let's say, more controlled, more coherent, more balanced out level. When you do start playing around with the switches, and if you play around here with the first switch, if you connect it up, that gives you the maximum bass response. It increases bass to up to about 4 or 5 dBs over what is in stock format. if you switch on the last switch, the 3 to the on position, that gives you a bass position which is in between the two, the stock and the one with the 1 position on. And then if you actually put them all in off, the bass is basically switched off roughly. So the 000 position is not a position I would recommend. I would say, for me personally, the positions that I like the most was the 010 that I have here, okay, the 010, or then the 011 position, where the bass is just slightly boosted over the 010 position, and it gives it a little bit more thump. Okay, now in this 010 position, which is the one that I actually ended up doing all of the listening, or the majority of the listening, the balance is very nice. It's got a very nice sub bass focus. It goes flat very quickly, so there's no bleed into the mids, and there's no kind of muffling of the vocals, which when you do, for example, put it in the maximum position of the bass, it does start to happen. It just becomes overly thick, okay, and in this position the bass is just perfectly executed. It's got, I don't have it with me, unfortunately, so I couldn't do the more thorough and the more correct comparison, but it reminded me a little bit of the mini, the Flat Freak mini, in that quantity of bass, so enormous quantities of bass, but very well executed. Okay, and that's the X here. The X has got very well done bass, so the 8mm driver that they're using here is definitely a quality driver, and it's been, in my opinion at least, very well tuned. Mids and highs, they've got a lot of energy, which when you look at the graph, you might think, okay, this is going to be probably very much a V-shaped type of sound, and I would say yes. I would say that it is a V-shaped signature, but it's not a V-shaped signature that is as prominent as what the graph might initially induce you to believe. If you are not able to then introduce the IEM a little bit deeper into your ear canal, what will happen is that you will get a boost of like that 6, 7, 8K. So we have that initial pinna gain of roughly 10 dBs. It peaks at about 2.5, 2.7K, and then starts dropping. If you don't insert or cannot insert the IM as deep as I mentioned earlier in the review, then what happens is you then have another rise, at 6, 7, 8K before dropping off, and that just in my opinion, in my ears, just gives it a little bit of added energy which isn't really required. Okay, if you are able to insert it deeper with a smaller size tip and are able to really ram the X inside of your ear canal, then that drop after the peak of the pinna gain continues, and it just, for me, like I said, for me and for what I like listening to, it just comes across oh so sweet, the sound. Very, very, it's got that right balance of detail, of musicality, of detail retrieval, of being technically capable. It just comes across very, very nice. And the surprising thing here, for me at least, was considering it's just got basically it's just BAs doing the mids and the highs. The way that they've tuned the BAs here is very nice. It's got like I said, compared to the Mangard, which has got twice the number of BAs, it's actually got more detail. It's more ability to be technically capable than the Mangard. True. That also happens because the Mangard does have a lot more bass, which does kind of overpower somewhat the mids and the highs. But still, there's 8 drivers here. There's 4 drivers here. So I was surprised to see how this was able to be, that extra little bit more cleaner and transparent than the Mangard. Again, and I repeat, like I said earlier, it doesn't mean that it's the better tuned one. It's not. You might enjoy that more. So go figure. You might not be able to put this as deep as I'm recommending, and then you might not notice that. But assuming that everything is perfect here and everything is perfect there, where you listen to one, you listen to the other, the vocals here come across cleaner, more detailed, more realistic, in my opinion. timbre and tonality of the X as well, very correct, and I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that they're using that technology to balance out the pressure inside of the actual the shell of the earphone, and that it cleans up the bass very much. So although like yes, you have got a lot of bass, but it's a clean bass. It's not it doesn't become as overpowering as on the top, which doesn't use the same technology. Fair enough. It's got a 10mm driver. It's not an 8mm. Fair. I'm considering all of those things, but that bass there, it's a good quality bass. The bass on the top. Let me just make this perfectly clear. The bass on the top is clean, powerful. It's got loads of rumble. Amazing. On here, and it's down to the fact that they're using that pressure relief system. The bass here is just a little extra cleaner. That's all. Okay, that's all. But don't forget, assuming that you're able to as well insert the IM, relatively deep into your canal. Comparing the X then to, well, not comparing, like I said, to give it a bit more of a positioning with regards to the EST and the PENON. Compared to the EST has got more detail up top, more twinklies, more sparklies. The bass there is as equally clean and incisive and precise in its action. It's just got those ESTs really cleaning up, and giving that twinkle and sparkle and sensation of space, of soundstage, which is ever so slightly larger on the EST50 than it is on the X from TANSIO. And compared to the PENON, the sound, although graphically they don't graph anything like one another, the sound is surprisingly similar. There's a little bit extra amount of thump there as compared to here. Very minor, but the biggest difference that you'll definitely notice when you start listening to them, especially if it's female vocals, is that there, because of the ESTs, again, sounds just a little extra crispier. Okay, the bass, I would say that overall the bass, although that's got a little bit more thump, I would say the bass overall here is superior. It's got a little bit more of that incisiveness, of that cleanliness, of that start-stop that we don't get on the 10th anniversary from PENON. The mids, very equal. It's then on the upper mids and treble that the 10th anniversary from PENON is just that little extra cleaner, a little bit more detailed, retrieval, a little bit more sound stage space. Okay, and that's it. I mean, guys, like I was saying, if you have any one of these IEMs, you've selected amazing IEMs. That's the reality. Be it the top, be it the PENON, or be it the ISM, they are all excellent IEMs, all very well, performing very well for their price. And the TANSIO MIRAI is kind of it goes and fetches things from these three. It goes and fetches the best, let's put it that way, that these have to offer, and tries and give us an overall all-round package that is very capable. At least with the music I listened to, I didn't really find anything that was that it was struggling with. Things like, for example, EDM and so on are surprisingly energetic. I mean, I was very well. That's as simple as that. It's very well executed. But on the opposite end, if I go for something like a Blackbird from Lady Blackbird, which is just a vocal with her voice, I mean, you have to listen to the song and you'll understand what it's all about. And when you listen to it on the TANSIO MIRAI, it does it justice. It's not that it doesn't give it its necessary energy or atmosphere. No, it does it perfectly. Moon River from Jacinta is another one that's exactly the same situation. It gives it its necessary and deserved reproduction. The Keep Pushing from Les Sabler is another song where the X does it perfectly. Honestly, there wasn't really a song where I was listening to the X and I was saying, okay, this is a little bit underwhelming. No, really, there wasn't. Yes, that would have that did happen when I boosted the bass excessively. Then things just started losing their coherence. But in the setting of 010 and as well in the setting of 011, quite a lot of times, the balance and the coherence was maintained, and the musicality above all was maintained. That's, I think, the biggest takeaway that I can give you guys here is that the balance that's been struck between musicality and technicalities on the X has been very well achieved. While perhaps on the EST50, well, the EST50 is not maybe the best example, because the EST50 also does that balance of musicality and technicalities quite well. But on the PENON, there were people that technically, would have liked a little bit more technical capability, but didn't complain about the musicality. On the top, again, the same situation. Musically very engaging, but technically it was a little bit let down. Here, that has struck on the X, they've struck a very nice balance between those two aspects. And that's it, guys. I'll show you now the graphs and we'll wrap it up. Hi guys, and welcome now to the graph section here for the TANSIO MIRAI X. These are all the graphs with all the settings that I thought, well, not that I thought, the settings that made sense. This setting that you see here with the green, okay, this is the setting where all the switches are in the off position, so the bass is basically annulled, so we'll take that one out. The next one, this is the 01, this first one that you see here, so let me highlight it. This first one that you see is the 010, which is the stock position. We'll get that in a second. Then if you have this one here, which boosts the bass slightly, is the 011 position. Okay, and then let me just take away this one, there's no point. And then this final one here, which is now highlighted, is the 110 position, so with the bass in its maximum boost. So I mean, we're talking about a huge increase of the bass. It just muffles everything up, while in the 010 position you can see that it's basically flat there by 200 hertz, and it doesn't really spoil the mids in any way. And well, with this position, yes, it does. There's bleeding, it muffles it up. It's too much. I didn't like it on that setting. On the 011 position, which is this intermediate one here, the sound was actually quite nice. There was just a little bit extra more of bleed, a little bit more extra weight, but it was fine. But the one that I ended up using the most was this initial position here in the bottom. So let me just take away these out and put just that one, which is this. Okay, so this is the position that I used the most. If I was able to, I was able to insert it deeper into my ear canal, I got this one here. So let me just align it here. Okay, I got this, which, as you see, this area of 6-7K gets a little bit more controlled, and you have that peak at, like I said, 2.5 to 2.7, and then it just drops off nicely. There's about a pin gain of about 10 dBs roughly to that peak there, and then the gain for the bass is roughly roughly 14 dBs. Let's give it that way. Okay, but as you can see, the majority of it is the big amount of it. If I kind of take like an average point here between the upper mids and the bass, is below 80 hertz, so it just conveys a nice sub bass thump and presence than necessarily an overpowering amount of bass that just spoils things. Okay, so for the majority of the listening, I actually kept it like this. All right, now let's start comparing it here with the IEMs that I selected, so that you guys can get a better feel for what happened. I'm going to show you straight away with the Mangit first. Here's the Mangit. Oops, let me just align it. What did I do here? My apologies. I'm the one that messed it all up here. So number 2, let me realign it here. Okay, everything has been normalized at 1 kilohertz. So take away here the others and just leave in the red the TANSIO MIRAI X, and then in the brown the top. As you can see, they graph very similar, very sort of similar bass curve. Obviously one is a 10 millimeter, so this 10 millimeter will be more present because of its bigger size, bigger area of displacement than the 8 on although it's 2 8s, but it's just effectively 1 8 that we have moving here than the 8 on the TANSIO. You can see mids, treble, everything's very similar, but somehow the balance and the way that those mids are presented in the TANSIO MIRAI is just that little extra more detailed. And even this peak here that you see on the top, which would, maybe for some of you that do have their hearing still at their full abilities and not like mine, maybe you will perhaps hear the top as having a little bit more detail up top. Honestly, I didn't perceive it that way. I perceived that the 10th was sounding more detailed up top, had more sense of air, of space than the top. So more technically capable than the top. Okay, so that's the top there. Compared to the PENON, the 10th anniversary, again normalized, PENON 10th anniversary, no, compared to the ISN, the EST50, again I've normalized it at 1 kilohertz. The bass on the ISN is absolutely phenomenal. And then the way they've executed the mids, again, very good. This does not do it justice. What you do notice is the ISN does have more twinklies and sparklies, it's got more that sensation of air that graphically you wouldn't think that, okay? But when you hear it, that is exactly what happens. And then finally, the PENON, the 10th anniversary, again, the same situation. There's more detail up top here. Those ESTs definitely are working well. The mids, although they graph nothing like each other, they sound very much equal. And the PENON, the 10th anniversary, has got just a little bit more mid-bass thump, but let's not forget, it's 6 millimeters. So this, let's say this thickness here in this 100 to 350, 400 hertz area doesn't, at least for me, doesn't translate into a muddiness of the vocals or anything of the sort. Okay, if anything, like I said, was that musically the PENON 10th anniversary is more capable than technically. The ISN, the EST50, again the same situation, although it's technically more balanced. Okay, and the TANSIO MIRAI, in my opinion, I think it's the one that has struck that balance the best between being technically proficient and then being very musical. The top as well pends towards being more musical than necessarily a technically capable IM. All right. Anyway, guys, I hope I was able to give you an overall good perception of what the TANSIO MIRAI X is about. I personally think it's a fantastic IM. I hope that the price doesn't increase, to be honest. I hope it maintains itself at that value of $399. That will definitely make it a very competitive choice over the others that are available at similar value. And as always, I mean, if you have the opportunity to listen to it, first do listen to it before purchasing it. But a solid IM, definitely a solid IM. Anyway, guys, as always, like and subscribe. If there's any questions you would like me to answer, please feel free to ask me. All right, take care now. Bye-bye.